Swain, the Grand General of Noxus, known as a master tactician and ruler, may not be the ultimate puppet master we've all been led to believe. Hidden within the shadows of Noxian power, there's a greater force at play that is influencing Swain. But what is that force, and what is the true extent of its influence on Swain, and how does this unseen bond dictate the fate of Noxus and Runeterra at large? To unravel this mystery, we must first trace the threads back to Swain's origins. Born to a noble house in Noxus, Jericho Swain seemed destined for a life of luxury and greatness. In a pivotal regime change that would set the stage for years to come, Swain's family, along with other noble houses, orchestrated the rise of Raum Darkwill to become the Grand General of Noxus. Many of these noble families were not just influential supporters of Darkwill, they were part of the Black Rose, a secret organization that had orchestrated the rise and fall of Noxian leaders from the shadows for over a millennium. Their most ambitious campaigns furthered the goals of their leader, a pale-skinned sorceress whose lust for power is matched only by her age, a life spanning over 11 centuries. Can you guess who it is? I'll reveal it in 3, 2, 1. You guessed it, LeBlanc. Darkwill, once seated firmly upon the throne, turned his back on those who lifted him. This defiance sparked anger amongst the nobility, and more critically, of LeBlanc. LeBlanc had always ruled Noxus from the shadows, maintaining her grip on Noxus through manipulation. Her motivation? Growing stronger and keeping a watchful eye over the immortal Bastion, a stronghold of old secrets, but more on that later. When Darkwill defied the Black Rose, LeBlanc found herself needing a new plan, one that not only secured her shadowy rule, but also kept a dormant, menacing force in check, a force that threatened to rise again and not only challenge her quiet dominion over Noxus, but conquer all of Runeterra. LeBlanc, with her intricate knowledge of the political chessboard, set her eyes on Swain, a loyalist to Darkwill. In a twisted revelation, she purposefully exposed Swain to the Black Rose organization in a fabricated plot to kill Darkwill. Swain, fiercely loyal and enraged by the perceived betrayal, purged the organization, killing all Black Rose members he could find, including his own mother, father, and a magical copy of LeBlanc. Swain's purge earned him not just notoriety, but a place within the military, far from the comfort of noble life. Meanwhile, LeBlanc, who had faked her own death using her deceptive magics, watched as her plan unfolded. With Swain now removed from Noxian politics, away from Darkwill, and serving on the front lines, LeBlanc's master plan could unravel. LeBlanc, whispering in Darkwill's ear, sowed the seeds of an invasion, a conquest of Ionia. She spun tales of powerful relics capable of granting him eternal life. Her words preyed on Darkwill's fears of mortality, igniting a flame that would eventually become the famous 5-year Noxian invasion of Ionia, a campaign that served multiple purposes in LeBlanc's grand scheme. The first, to gather magical artifacts. The second, to gain access to the magical energies of Ionia. The third, extending the influence and power of Noxus, thereby increasing her influence and power. And 4, spreading Noxus armies so thin that Swain eventually gets killed in battle. But you might be asking, why would LeBlanc want Swain killed in battle? To prevent him from coming back to Noxus and course-correcting Darkwill? It is here that the plot thickens and we learn about who is really pulling the strings. As battle after battle raged on in Ionia, Swain felt the weight of a looming darkness. The war with each battle appeared less of a path to glory and more of a descent into Darkwill's desperate madness. Strangely, Swain began to notice ravens, an ill omen in Noxian culture, in and around the battlefields. They seemed to watch him with an intensity, each consecutive battle seeming to attract more and more ravens. Near the end of the war, Swain's army was ordered to ambush the Placidium, Ionia's most sacred bastion. The plan quickly turned disastrous, as the Ionians were well aware of the impending strike and heavily fortified the keep. During the battle, Swain went toe-to-toe with one of Ionia's most feared blade dancers, Aurelia. Aurelia bested Swain in combat, shattering his knee and cutting off his left arm, leaving him to die. His future as a leader and military general were cut short, just as LeBlanc had planned. Or so she thought. It was at this moment of near death, as Swain bled out on the Placidium grounds, that a raven approached, a raven with eyes that hinted at a malevolent intelligence. In those eyes, Swain saw the true evil that had infested Noxus, the Black Rose, LeBlanc, and Darkwill as her puppet. But there was something more, a deeper malice that even the Black Rose seemed unaware of, an ancient power that emanated from the immortal bastion in the heart of Noxus. Swain ended up escaping Ionia and returned to Noxus a changed man. Without a left arm, he was useless and discarded by the military. His new purpose became an obsession with what he had seen in the Raven's eyes, the immortal bastion's secrets. This quest led him to uncovering and meeting Raum, the secret harvesting demon whose spirit was trapped inside the bastion. This was no chance meeting. Raum was spiritually trapped within the confines of the bastion walls that were constructed by an evil ancient power, Mordekaiser, but more on that in a moment. In their meeting, a pact was forged. Raum would restore Swain's arm and grant him demonic power, while Swain would free Raum from his isolation, or so he thought. With his new demonic arm and knowledge, Swain staged a coup, overthrowing Darkwill, but his goal was not personal power, it was the reformation of Noxus. He established the Triferix, a triarchy to prevent any single figure from corrupting the Empire like LeBlanc and Darkwill had, a safeguard against tyranny, and perhaps against himself. Naturally, the Triarchy was made up of 3 individuals, Swain, Darius, and the Faceless One. When someone makes a contract with a demon, their soul then belongs to that demon. However, Raum belongs to Mordekaiser, as his soul is still trapped within the Bastion, which makes Swain's soul property of Mordekaiser. Raum is a demon that is slowly taking over Swain's mind and body, and Mordekaiser alludes to this exact fact.
Clutch your borrowed power, Grand General. Your soul is already mine.
We can assume that since Swain is still himself, he may not be under the influence of Raum or Mordekaiser yet. However, the lore alludes to Swain fighting to keep Raum under control, alluding to the fact that Swain may be consumed by Raum at some point, giving Mordekaiser complete control over Swain and the Noxian Empire as a result. Another voice line in League of Legends can give us some context here. When Samira and Swain interact, she alludes to the demon taking over Swain.
Hey, old man. How long you got before that demon takes over?
But this doesn't paint the whole picture. On some level, Swain must know that Raum is a threat to Noxus, which is why he created the Triferix. Or it is entirely possible, and I think more plausible, that Raum and Mordekaiser already control Swain and are doing a great job at making everyone believe that Swain still has control over himself. Swain alludes to have already been taken control of in the League of Legends interaction with Darius.
Your trust may be misplaced, old friend, but it is appreciated.
So Mordekaiser will inevitably control Swain, or is already in control of Swain. But where does this leave LeBlanc? It's possible that she, aware of Mordekaiser's lingering influence, guided Darkwill towards Ionia with the dual purpose of expanding Noxus while also trying to remove Swain from the equation, preventing him from being used by Mordekaiser. However, her plans barely managed to fall through as Mordekaiser contacted Swain through Raum on his deathbed in the Placidium, giving him the strength to stave off mortality. When Swain started his coup against Darkwill, LeBlanc and the Black Rose got desperate and tried to stop him by deploying Briar to kill Swain. But as soon as Briar was released from her pillory, she entered a blood-crazed frenzy, eating some members of the Black Rose before eventually being captured by Swain's guards. Now, with Noxus in the clutches of Mordekaiser through Swain, LeBlanc is preparing for the return of Mordekaiser by continuing to try to change the narrative through influencing Noxian politics when she can, while also training Rel and getting her enchanted blade back from Riven in preparation for a battle with the Iron Revenant.